forgive me for just just talking about how much I love your show the whole time we talk. But what a ride the show is. I started it and I was just like, okay, this is really something that I love. It gives me like gives me Christopher Guestian vibes to a lot of it.
Mm.
There's a lot of I think in theater school I was just always dreadfully impressed with people who could do improv. I cannot do improv. I was like, I can sing, I can dance, can't do improv. Um, so, but I realized that I ended up watching this like entire show like in a day, because I could not stop watching
Oh,
it.
wow.
So long story short, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Um, I sort of don't know where to start, just because I feel like the first question I just wanted to ask you was just like how, because because
Just how?
just how. What if I was like, hello, a Words Daily interview? How? Um, but I legitimately want to know this. I'll skip the how, but I want to know what your favorite James
Sure.
Marsden movie is.
Oh, like ever? Well, see, I'm a James Marsden fan, and kind
Yeah.
of like Ronald, I think way back in the day when Sex Drive came out, that was also the first time I was like, whoa, this guy can do comedy too, because I kind of knew him, from the X-Men movies at that point. So, gosh, is that my favorite? He's been in so much good stuff. But I was on set a little bit too during Anchorman 2 when he played Jack Lime and saw him do that there. So I've been a fan of James for a while and impressed by him for a while because I think a lot of people don't always think comedy when they think of him, but I've
Mhm.
kind of been one of those comedy James Marsden fans for a while. And so those are probably my favorite going back to there
Yeah.
because it's how I started to reappreciate him as a fan before I got to work with him.
Yeah, he has the sort of surprising ability to kind of radiate like good himbo energy. I think
Mm,
anytime I think of James Marsden, I think of when he jumps off the bridge and starts singing in Enchanted before he gets hit by a bunch of bikes. That's
yeah.
a very distinct memory in my brain. Um,
Yes.
so I wanted to ask about, I don't say the casting process, but I feel like I wanted to know how you found Ronald. Like, what is your instinct as a director?
Mm.
Like, what about him? I mean, I know he's very easy to pick out because he's so unbelievably tall. But uh, I was just curious, was there like an instinct with you when you were just like him? He's the guy.
It's tough. Well, first of all, we had a lot of really great people working on the show and trying to, cast this role, right?
Mhm.
And some people had come out of the Sacha Baron Cohen world and they're used to try, find people who will go along with, bigger bits and stuff like that. But this was a little different because we were looking for someone who not only we thought would be okay in this world and go along with this world we were creating for them, but their job was, to kind of be a good guy and hopefully be the moral compass of our group of,
Mhm.
our crazy cast of characters here. So I don't know. I think there was just this sense of Ronald because we did a lot of interviews with him beforehand. And so I watched a lot of videos of him doing these interviews we created.
Yeah.
Uh, he was just a good guy. Number one, you could tell, but he was game. You know what I mean? He was at a point in his life where he was like excited about the
Mhm.
idea of trying new things, of going on an adventure. You know what I mean? That's why in his mind he was open to, being part of a documentary, something he'd never thought he would experience in his life. And that was like a really
Yeah.
important part of it too. You know what I mean? Not just morally that he was the right guy, but that he was at the right point in his life to try a new experience like this, which I think is really important.
Yeah, the thing that I kept noticing as I was watching it, it's just none of the other actor or the actors, whenever they say something to him, he always says something back. It's not like it's very rare that if someone says like, "Oh, I don't know, I saw a cute dog on the way in," he would start talking back to you. It's not like he would be like, "Oh, that's nice," and that would be it. Because I feel like for you guys,
Mm-hmm.
that would be murder trying to like yank out
Yes.
some form of
Yes.
conversation.
Well, I will say this. I mean, he was kind of perfect that way, and that's obviously part of what we were looking for, right? So we had a
Mhm.
little bit of a sense of that, oh, I think he'll be good this way. But I will say that, we were really trying to do this long con for our hero, right? We had him for 3 weeks that we were trying to create a world around him. And I will say that, I mean, that was very daunting. That was, no
Yeah.
one really knew, how are we going to do this? And as much as you think you know someone or can interview someone, it kind of maybe tells you how they're going to act for the first day or two or three.
Mhm.
But once you really get into it, past day three, you really don't know how someone's going to react. And what really we got lucky with Ronald is we thought he would be great, but he got even better as we went on. Like he ended up being better than we thought. And I do think there's something about that we can't control. And we just,
Mm.
not only he was great, but we picked the right people to be around him, because part
Yeah.
of our cast was not only about their comedic talent, but about the people they are as well, because we knew they were going to be spending so much time with Ron.
Mm. Even the I did want to even ask about it's episode 7, the deliberations
Mm-hmm.
sequence, because he's the foreman. I actually had to like I leaned back in my chair. I remember leaning back because I was just like, this is not the same guy. There's something about like the way that he's talking. um Someone says like, we've got a job to do. Ronald says like, I have a responsibility. The way he's like, then has the ability to, it's almost teacher like in a weird way. It was sort of like, so this is how we're voting. Whoever, voted the other way, think about it, talk about it, raise your hand. It was sort of shocking to like give him the floor like that, because it was I was really taken by surprise in that whole scene.
Our hearts were all just melting. We were so excited because, I mean, that was one of the initial ideas of the show, is like, can we lead someone to be uh the hero, right, of our
Mm-hmm.
show, to be the lead of our show without knowing that's what they're taking part in. And we always described it as, we want to make a comedy where someone who doesn't know everything that's happening gets their 12 angry men moment at the end, and kind of says, hey, you've got to get all these crazy characters in line to do the right thing. That was a big question. And we kind of didn't have a show if Ronald didn't, you know, go the right way on that case, and want to make sure everyone else went the right way to like kind of stand up for the little guy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had backup plans of a lot of like, okay, look, when he comes in for deliberations, Ross, you take him over to this corner and you tell him how much you think you want to hear his opinion and how helpful you think it'd be. And Lonnie, right, Ishmael, you talk to him and say, hey man, what are you thinking? And tell him his advice is really good, and say maybe he should say that to the group. We had all these ways that we were going to try to prompt him to get to talk to the group if he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. And he literally walked in that morning and was like, hey guys, all right, look, it's time to get to work. If everyone could sit down, there's something I want to say, and just launched right into it. And we were just like,
I was like,
this is exactly what we were hoping for. And he didn't need any prompting, because he's the real deal. So it was kind of a great, like, oh, this was the right guy moment for
yeah.
us.
Oh wow. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like that's insane. I just keep saying it. But okay. Um, I did want to also ask about checking in with your cast members,
Mm-hmm.
because I wondered how, okay, go with me on this. I remember I used to be really obsessed with the Blair Witch Project. I remember because that was
Love
like
it.
mostly improvised, and I remember reading when I was like 15 that like they were like, all right, this is the goal you have for the end of the day. You just have to get from here to here. However you get there is up to you. And I don't know why that popped into my head when I was watching the show, and I was like, is that how they did it? Did they just give them like an objective for the end of the day? um but I was just curious, like, what was it like to check in with everybody, because this fake world is so expansive and there are so many people. That's the other insanely impressive thing about this, is that there are so many people and something could go wrong literally every 5 seconds.
That was the main thing I told people after we wrapped, is I was like, I am looking forward to doing a scene with less than 16 actors in it after this. No, there's a lot
Yeah.
of people, and a lot of great people. Oh, I mean, we did a lot of different things to do that.
Hmm.
I mean, some of what you're saying, like, here's our goal, you pick how to get there.
Yeah.
We did do some of that, and I think it got looser like that towards the end of the shoot, where we couldn't have scripted anything because we didn't know exactly what Ronald was going to do. So by
Right.
the end, it turned more into that. Earlier on, it was a little more controlled and a little more scripted, even with some specific lines of like,
Hmm.
"Hey, your goal is to get to a joke like this, or say this
Okay.
line in here. This is what you have to say." You know, we planned that a little more. But really, I mean, casting's a huge part of it, right? Susie
Yeah.
Ferris brought us amazing groups of people to look at, and putting the right group together is a huge part in
Hmm.
a project like this. That's like half my job, is to feel like we got the right people. But then we had a pretty extensive rehearsal process with everyone without Ronald, where we
Oh.
ran through versions of all the days, right? And
Hmm.
how we were going to play them and what everyone's goals were. And we would give an example of like, and here's like 5 or 6 versions of a joke you could say here. And we would give them so many jokes because we were like, don't force one. You know, we didn't want anything to feel forced. You also
Hmm.
can't like make it too prescriptive. Otherwise, Ronald feels like he's living in a world that's not natural. And like, why are people talking like that? Right. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to have actors who you trust to, you know, you give them a bunch of options and they take the right option. Um, and but also during the day, you know, certain actors would get up to go to the bathroom and we'd have a little meeting with them, or we'd take Ronald out for a solo interview, and
Hmm.
while he was in that solo interview, I would go into the room with all the other actors and talk to them and say, hey, we didn't quite get this beat here, so when he gets back, here's how we're going to try to get it again. And kind of, you know, we do a mini rehearsal, give some notes and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So they're they were both on their own for hours at a time when we couldn't talk to them, and also we were giving them notes and messages all throughout the day, and meeting for 2 hours before Ronald got there and staying for an hour after he left to talk about what was going to happen the next day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, like the final episode, I love the fact that you folks break everything down because initially I was like, oh, they're going to show us everything because this is sort of, and I was so excited to see that for like a full half hour. But like even seeing how the trickery of like, oh, there's a COVID positive, we have to quarantine everyone. Like, I thought that was
Yeah.
brilliant. I love the rehearsal with all those creepy ass mannequins. That made me laugh. Um, that you know, there's a lot of trust that you as a director, you know, put in these actors, and there's a lot of trust that the, you know, with improv, long form improv. So I mean, I just feel like you guys are probably like the whole time, the whole freaking time.
We really
Um,
were. I mean, it became like there were stunt, you know, we would build towards, this is one of our craziest things, this is where we're gonna lose
mhm,
him for sure, you know, because our big worry was, if at any point he calls out something as not believable, or we go too crazy, then the show's over. Like, we can't say like,
yeah,
oh, sorry you figured us out, but we're going to keep going and pretend you don't know we're a TV show now, you know. So that we had that nerve, like, oh, can we get past chance? Can we make chance believable? You know what I mean? Chair pants. Can we sit James Marsden right next to him on day one with cameras around and have him feel like it's just luck of the draw on jury duty? Like, you know, there's some big moments for us. These were like our tent poles to get through
yeah.
and get over.
Oh my God, I have to say that I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The guy with the chair pants. That man is
David Brown,
David
incredible.
Brown. He's brilliant. I just want to follow him around. And the fact that I knew in the first 10 minutes of the first episode where he tells James Marsden to his face that a movie that he did was bad. I was just like, oh, okay, this is gonna work. Like this that's how it's gonna go.
And that's something we couldn't have planned, right? Like, that is like an early gift Ronald gave us. It's like, how is this happening? And he's still a nice guy about it. He's doing it
Yeah.
innocently enough.
But
He's not trying to be a jerk. He didn't realize James was like the star of that movie. You know, it was amazing,
that's
and you can
amazing.
see how much of that episode became about Sonic, and that we pushed Sonic then, and that was all based on like, okay, now that he said that, you know, I was texting James, you know, when he was sitting
Yeah.
next to him, like, oh, ask him about if he bought it or rented it. Once, now that we know we've seen it, like, that was all on the fly with our
Oh my
writer,
God.
Cody Heller and Andrew Weinberg, pitching jokes now that he mentioned Sonic. Okay, let's
Yeah.
lean into Sonic. And so that's all happening in the moment. We're trying to make it happen.
Did you buy it or rent it? That's a great. That's I love it. That's great. Um, I want to talk about the Margaritaville sequence,
Mhm.
just because that's when I felt like as a viewer that it was truly shifting into this. We're recognizing the relationship between all these people. Now, I wanted to ask you, are you a fan of the show The Other Two?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the people involved in that show.
Okay.
Yes.
There is an episode that is airing this week where they basically Molly Shannon's character wants to have a normal birthday, and they recreate an Applebee's, and she doesn't know that it's a recreation of Applebee's. It comes out on
Oh,
Thursday.
that's amazing.
It was
Oh,
really strange watching this episode of Jury Duty after I'd seen the screener of that. But I just wanted to know like how it kind of felt watching that. I mean, Noah gets drunk, the arm wrestling thing. I really felt this, for a lack of a better cheesy phrase, like I started to really have my heart warmed by this group of people, and I did not expect that at all. So I wanted to know what it was like to witness that.
it felt really good at the end of that day,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, because this strange thing started to happen where real life started to converge with like the written hopes we had for this show. And
Mm-hmm.
like in that episode, our characters are supposed to start to come together and their storylines change and they're supposed to bond and things change, hopefully in a more positive way. And it's supposed to be a bonding moment for the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, we were, a week and a half, 2 weeks into filming at that point, and it was intense. As fun as it was, people were really stressed and worried that are we going to ruin the show if we screw up today?
Mm-hmm.
And our actors, as real people, needed that moment and to bond. So this strange thing started happening where what we wanted the characters to do, our actors also needed in real life, and it was a real bonding moment for them to all be there and get to go out and not be stuck at the hotel and have a
Mm-hmm.
few drinks. And it was just real life and art colliding at that moment, and that's part of what I think you're feeling and why it works so well. Is that that's when we also knew like everyone was really falling in love with Ronald, and that this was kind of special, and that they really were becoming friends with him and wanted to continue their relationship with him. That's kind of like what's really happening at Margaritaville.
Hmm. Yeah, because I feel like the reveal that if like that bond wasn't there, the reveal and him, like if he was separated emotionally from the other people, that would have been like a completely different experience. um
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I did want to ask about the reveal. I guess like the getting to that hurdle of finally having the judge reveal it, even though I had heard that he finds out. That's all I knew, that he finds out. I did not expect him to do it in that dramatic way, having him sit there after the verdict is read. I guess being so close to being able to take a deep breath again. What was your biggest concern about revealing the truth to Ronald?
Our The biggest concern was doing it in a way that was respectful to Ronald's experience, and our
Mm-hmm.
biggest concern was just that he was going to be okay. Because I will say, after all the quote unquote pranks we did in front of Ronald,
Mm-hmm.
we weren't worried about the reveal until we got there, and we were so emotionally invested in Ronald
Yeah.
by that point that we realized that this was the biggest thing of all to try to pull off and land it in a way that Ronald could understand it, that he could
Mm-hmm.
react to it, and that he could still somehow feel safe. There's a lot of footage from that reveal that's also not in the show, where we, offered Ronald all the time he needed,
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, take a break, be with us, not be with us. And I think, the four of us kind of in that control room every day, myself, Nick Hatton, Cody Heller, Andrew Weinberg, we rewrote that judge's speech, I think, every night uh,
Oh wow.
leading up to the reveal, just tweaking, trying stuff, trying new stuff, trying to really trying to hold ourselves to say, let's make sure we're doing this in what we think is the best, most respectful way we can do it that still makes for a good reveal
Mhm.
for the audience as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, giving him space, because I like how the camera just stays on his face and it's just about giving him the time that he needs to like process it. He has like
Hmm.
he has like 16, 17 pairs of other eyes on him, like basically watching him react. So I feel like I'm not sure how we all can't comprehend what he's feeling and thinking in that moment. So I'm glad that there's like silence and space and he's I don't know. I thought that moment was actually very special in a
Oh, I'm
show
glad to
that
hear
is
you
very
say that. Yeah.
yeah. Um I guess one last comment before I let you go. Number one, love 7 Days in Hell. Love that so much.
Oh, thank you.
Um
I do too.
yeah.
Happy to hear it.
But have you seen online the if you just go onto like Etsy or Redbubble, the amount of stuff that people have made in honor of jury duty?
No,
Like there's Jorf shirts galore. There are so many stickers with Ronald's face that say like
really.
that just have hearts. Or there's a greeting card with the him sitting with the chair pants on. There's cinnamon and sparrow stickers out there. So there's like Ronald for president, pink mugs with Ronald's face and hearts around it, jury nullification, definition shirts. So yeah, if you need some very specific merchandise, I'm currently trying to find which Jorf shirt I want for myself. So
Oh yeah, man. Send over some links. I want to check that out.
yeah, I'll send.
People may have sent me a link or two, but I don't. No, I haven't gone deep on that at all. I got to check that out.
Yeah, hold on, I'll send it to you right now in the chat. Hold
Oh,
on.
great. Thank
And
you.
then there, sure, and then there's
Oh, that's great. There's a
like this
lot
is
of Jorf shirts. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I guess it must be kind of easy just to write Jorf on a shirt, but like the
People are
specificity.
taking it back.
But I was just thinking, like, which Ronald sticker do I want for my laptop? And I was like, this is insane. So,
Oh, that's so sweet. That's
but
great.
there's Team Barb stickers out there. If you just scroll through it, it's pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh, a
Um,
chair pants mug? Oh my
yeah,
God. I'm about to spend $400 on Etsy now. Look at all this
right,
gear. This is amazing.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Jake, so much for your time. The thing that's really great about it, it's really funny, and the surprising emotion is wonderful. But I feel like, um, I just saw a sticker of James Morrison jump scare holding a script. Sorry, I need to close the window. But there's something very singular about this that is very amazing to see in a sea of television that is not that can feel so repetitive. This feels so original and so satisfying. So I guess just thank you for taking the time to talk to me and just creating such a singular experience.
Oh, I really appreciate that. We put a ton of hard work into
Yeah.
this, and it was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. And at the end of the day, in this landscape, you're just not sure if anyone's going to see it because there's so much stuff out there. So I
Hmm.
really appreciate you saying that, and I'm very happy for everyone that worked on it.
Yeah.
That it seems like it's taken off a little bit, and people are watching it and enjoying it. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Stay safe. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, thanks, man. You too.
Thanks. Bye.